Hi everybody, this is Dr. Ari Tuckman. I'm a psychologist and author of several books about ADHD. I'm doing another video here for Attitude Magazine, a resource for folks with ADHD and the people who care about them. And what we're going to talk about here today is the connection between ADHD and anxiety. It's an important connection, and unfortunately, far too often, it's a common connection. So what do I mean? Well, ADHD causes anxiety, and anxiety doesn't really cause ADHD, but it certainly causes stuff that looks like ADHD. So, in other words, people who have ADHD are unfortunately much more likely to be anxious than folks who don't have ADHD. And, even more unfortunate, I think that especially before the anxiety or before the ADHD is diagnosed and treated, folks with ADHD have much more kind of good reason to be anxious. Granted, some people's nervous systems just kind of run hot and they tend more towards the anxious end of things. But the thing about it is, folks with ADHD often feel anxious because too often things are sort of more up in the air than they would want them to be, or their performance is more inconsistent than they would want it to be. So they don't have enough of that faith that, I've kind of done what I needed to do. I've taken care of everything, not a problem, no ticking time bombs out there. That, unfortunately, ADHD tends to create more ticking time bombs, which, gives you good reason to be anxious. And if you try to be less anxious, it's kind of a tough sell to convince yourself that you shouldn't be. Now, going the other way, the more anxious we are, the less well our brains work. That, anxiety tends to reduce our working memory, which is sort of equivalent to our attention or our ability to hold information in mind. So we don't think as clearly when we're anxious. We can be distracted or preoccupied by our thoughts or the stuff that we're worrying about. We're not able to solve complex problems as efficiently. Anxiety is more about focusing on one or two simple problems, not solving big complex problems. So anxiety doesn't make ADHD worse per se, but it can make it harder to focus, so you're more distracted, you're more forgetful. So it looks like your ADHD is worse. It just means that, a lot of things can affect our, intellectual performance. So, I talked about kind of the bad news of how untreated ADHD causes anxiety. The good news is, as you address your ADHD, either through treatment or using good strategies or educating yourself about ADHD so you can kind of make more informed choices about things or make choices about the situations you put yourself into, how you tackle projects, all of that stuff legitimately gives you less reason to be anxious. So it's not just, take 10 deep breaths and pretend everything's okay, but legitimately things are more okay. So, the bad news becomes the good news when you can identify your ADHD and begin to really do something about it. So this was a video for attitudemag.com, and you can find a number of other videos from myself as well as a bunch of other experts in the world of ADHD. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.